Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're listening from somewhere quiet. This is your host, Jim, and you're listening to Letters of Horror. In this podcast, we don't just tell horror stories. We read the letters people send us. Letters about things they claim happened to them, and were never the same again. We hear strange sounds at night. We feel watched for a second. We get scared. And then morning comes, and everything feels normal again. But not everyone is that lucky. Those are the stories we bring to you here. And if you have a real horror experience of your own, send it to us. Tell us what happened. Maybe one night your story will be read here too. But before we begin, remember this. Horror needs an atmosphere. Wait until the night is quiet. Turn the lights off. Open the window a little if you can. Let the darkness in. Let the silence settle. Because every good horror story needs the right recipe. Now turn the volume up. Look behind you once. And let's open tonight's letter. Welcome to Letters of Horror.
I've typed this out 3 times and deleted it twice. Not because I don't know what happened, but because when you put things like this into words, they start sounding fake. They start sounding like something you would read online at 2 a.m. and then forget about by breakfast. But my family didn't forget. My name is Daniel. I'm 42 now. This happened 7 years ago, when my wife Laura and I moved with our 3 kids into a 2-story house outside a small town in Pennsylvania. I won't say the town name because the house is still there, and as far as I know, someone else lives in it now. Back then, we thought we had gotten lucky. The house was old, but not falling apart. White siding, black shutters, a long gravel driveway, and a heavy wooden front gate at the entrance to the property. It had a wraparound porch and a big maple tree in the front yard that looked beautiful in the listing photos. We had 3 kids. Our oldest, Evan, was 16. Our daughter, Maddie, was 12. And our youngest, Noah, was 7. The house gave everyone something they wanted. Laura got the kitchen she always dreamed of. Evan got a basement corner he could turn into a gaming area. Maddie got a bedroom with slanted ceilings that made it feel like an attic room from a movie. Noah got a backyard big enough to run around until he was exhausted. And I got a mortgage that didn't make me want to throw up. So we moved in during the last week of August. The first few weeks were normal. Busy, messy, loud. Boxes everywhere. School starting. Internet problems. A washing machine that shook like it wanted to leave the house. The only thing I noticed early on was how quiet it got at night. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. The kind where every tiny noise sounded too sharp. I told myself it was because we had moved from a neighborhood where houses were close together. This new place had space around it. Trees, fields, a road that barely had traffic after dark. The first knock happened on a Thursday night. I remember because Laura and I were watching some cooking competition show in bed. It was around 12:40. The kids had been asleep for hours. Then something hit the front gate. Not the front door, the gate. It was this deep, violent boom from far down the driveway. Once, then again, boom, boom. It was so loud, Laura sat straight up and grabbed my arm. I said, "What the hell was that?" Before she answered, it happened again. Boom. This time Evan shouted from down the hall, "Dad?" I got out of bed and went to the window. From our bedroom, you could see part of the driveway and the gate at the end of it. The porch light didn't reach that far, so all I could see was darkness and the faint outline of the wooden gate between the trees. I went downstairs with my phone flashlight on. Evan came out of his room behind me, holding a baseball bat. I remember thinking it was ridiculous and also being glad he had it. Laura stayed upstairs with the younger kids. We opened the front door and stepped onto the porch. Nothing. No car lights, no footsteps, no voices, no wind. The night was perfectly still. I called out, "Hello." My voice sounded small out there. Nobody answered. Evan whispered, "Maybe someone hit it with their car." But there was no engine sound, no tire marks, no broken wood, nothing. We walked halfway down the driveway, and then I stopped. I didn't like how dark the trees looked on both sides. I'm not ashamed to say that. There are certain kinds of darkness that feel like they're watching you back. I told Evan to go inside. We checked the gate the next morning. No damage, not even a scrape. Laura said maybe it was kids messing around. I wanted to believe that. But our house was not the kind of place teenagers randomly walked to at midnight. We were set back from the road, and that road didn't lead anywhere interesting. Just farms, woods, and more old houses. Still, one strange noise isn't enough to scare a family out of a house, so we ignored it. The second knock happened 4 nights later. This time it was 2:13 in the morning. I know the exact time because I looked at the clock after I woke up. Boom, boom, boom. 3 hard knocks on the gate. The whole house seemed to react to them. Not shake exactly, but tighten. Like even the walls had woken up. Noah started crying from his room. Maddie yelled, "Mom!" Evan came into the hallway and said, "It's the gate again." I went downstairs faster this time. I turned on every light I passed. Front hall, porch, living room, kitchen, even the laundry room for some reason. Laura followed me, holding Noah, who had his face buried in her shoulder. I opened the front door. Again, nothing. The gate sat at the end of the driveway, closed and still. No movement. No car. No person. No animal. Laura said, "Daniel, call the police." So I did. A deputy came about 20 minutes later. Nice guy. Looked tired. He checked around the gate, walked the road with a flashlight, looked at our porch, asked if we had enemies. I almost laughed. I said, "We just moved here. We barely know anyone." He suggested putting up a trail camera or motion light near the gate. He said sometimes people underestimate how loud deer can be when they hit or jump fences. A deer. That explanation lasted until the next morning when we found something none of us liked. There was mud on the inside of the gate. Not outside. Inside. 2 muddy handprints, low on the wood, like someone had stood inside our property and pushed against it. The handprints were small. Not a grown man's. Not a deer's. Laura took one look and said, "Don't tell the kids." But Evan had already seen. That was when the house started changing. Or maybe that was when we finally started noticing. At first it was little things. Cabinet doors open in the morning, the smell of cigarette smoke in the upstairs hallway, even though none of us smoked. A faint tapping inside the walls behind the staircase. Noah said he heard someone humming in the laundry room. Laura thought it was the dryer, except the dryer wasn't running. One night Maddie came downstairs and asked why I had been walking outside her room. I said, I wasn't. She said, then it was Mom. Laura was sitting next to me on the couch. Maddie didn't cry. That somehow made it worse. She just stood there in her oversized sleep shirt and looked from me to Laura like she was waiting for one of us to admit something. "What did you hear?" I asked. "Feet," she said. "Slow feet." "Maybe Evan went to the bathroom." She shook her head. It stopped outside my door. I went upstairs and checked the hallway. Evan was asleep. Noah was asleep. Nothing was there. But outside Maddie's bedroom door, the floorboard creaked under my foot. Once. Then again, when I stepped back, it made a very specific sound. A tired, bending groan. Maddie whispered, "That one." After that, we all became aware of the hallway. It ran from our bedroom at one end to the kids' rooms at the other. Old wood floors, a narrow runner rug in the middle. During the day, it looked harmless. At night, it felt too long. The walking began maybe 2 weeks after the first knock. Not every night. That would have been easier in a strange way. We could have prepared for it, waited for it, recorded it, but it happened randomly. Sometimes at midnight, sometimes at 3 a.m., sometimes just before dawn. Footsteps would move slowly from the top of the stairs to the end of the hallway, then back, then stop. Everyone heard them at least once. The first time Laura heard them clearly, she woke me up by pressing her hand over my mouth. I opened my eyes angry, then saw her face. She put a finger to her lips. From the hallway came the sound of bare feet on wood, not heavy, not fast, just steady. Step, step, step. They passed our bedroom door. The shadow under the door shifted slightly, like someone had gone by. Laura's nails dug into my arm. I got up and the footsteps stopped. That became the pattern. If I opened the door, nothing. If I called out, nothing. If I waited, they sometimes started again farther down the hall. It made me feel stupid. Angry too. I was the father, the husband, the person everyone expected to check the noise. So I checked, over and over, and every time the house made me look like an idiot. Then Evan had his experience. He told me about it the next morning, but I could tell from his face it had shaken him badly. Evan was not an emotional kid. He lived in hoodies, sarcasm, and headphones. But that morning he came into the kitchen, pale and quiet. He said, "Dad, something said my name last night." Laura froze at the stove. I said, "What do you mean?" He sat down and kept rubbing his thumb against the edge of the table. He said he had woken up around 1:30 needing to use the bathroom. The upstairs bathroom was between Maddie's room and Noah's room. He went, washed his hands, and came back out into the hallway. He said the house was dark except for the little nightlight near the stairs. As he was walking back to his room, he heard someone behind him whisper, "Evan." He turned around. No one was there. He thought maybe Maddie was messing with him, so he said, "Shut up." Then it whispered again, closer, "Evan." He ran into his room and locked the door. I asked if it sounded like a man or a woman. He said it sounded like someone trying to sound like Mom. That sentence did something to Laura. She turned off the stove and walked out of the kitchen without saying a word. We tried to keep the kids calm, but you can't hide fear inside a house. It leaks out. Noah started sleeping with his door open and his lamp on. Maddie stopped using the upstairs bathroom at night. Evan refused to wear headphones in his room anymore. Laura became obsessed with checking locks, doors, windows, basement latch, back porch. She checked them before bed, then again an hour later. I bought 2 trail cameras and mounted one facing the gate and one facing the driveway. For 3 nights, nothing happened. Then, on the 4th night, the knocking came back. Boom, 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 boom. 4 hits this time, harder than before. The sound rolled up the driveway and into the house. Nobody screamed. We all just appeared in the hallway like we had been summoned. Laura was holding Noah. Maddie was crying silently. Evan looked furious. I grabbed my phone and opened the trail camera app with shaking hands. The camera facing the gate had triggered. There was a clip. I played it. The video showed the gate in black and white night vision. The timestamp read 2:07 a.m. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. Then the gate shook. Once, twice, 3 times, 4. Each time the wood jumped inward like something had struck it from the other side, but there was nobody there. No person. No animal. No movement at all. Just the gate jerking violently in the dark. Laura whispered, "Turn it off." I did. Nobody slept after that. The next day I called the previous owner. His name was Mr. Whitaker, older man. He had sold the house after his wife went into assisted living. During the sale he had been friendly, almost too friendly, the way some people are when they want the paperwork done before you ask too many questions. I told him we were having issues with noises. There was a pause. Then he said, "Old houses make noise." I said, "At the gate?" Another pause. I asked him directly, "Did anything strange ever happen here?" He gave a small laugh that didn't sound real. Then he said, "You have kids, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Just don't let them answer the knocking." I felt my stomach turn cold. "What does that mean?" He said, "It means what I said." Then he hung up. I called back twice. He didn't answer. That night, Laura wanted to leave. I argued. I'm not proud of that. I talked about money, the mortgage, the kids' schools, how we couldn't just run because of noises. Even as I said it, I knew I didn't believe myself. But fear is expensive. People don't talk about that. It costs money to leave. It costs money to break a life apart and move again. So we stayed. The worst thing happened to Maddie. It was a Saturday afternoon, which is part of why it scared me so badly. I could explain away things at night. Darkness does something to the mind. But this happened at 3 p.m. with sunlight coming through the windows. Laura was in the kitchen making grocery lists. I was in the garage trying to organize tools. Evan was in the basement. Noah was outside with a soccer ball. Maddie came upstairs from the living room and called, "Mom?" She heard Laura answer from our bedroom. "What, honey?" Maddie went down the hallway and stepped into our room. Laura was sitting at the little desk by the window, writing in a notebook. At least that's what Maddie said. She said Mom had her back turned. Same grey sweater, same hair tied up, same voice. Maddie asked if she could use Laura's phone to call her friend. The person at the desk said, "In a minute." Maddie said okay and left. She walked downstairs and found Laura in the kitchen, standing at the counter with a pen in her mouth, reading the grocery list. Maddie didn't scream at first. She just stopped on the bottom step. Then she said, "Mom?" Laura looked up and said, "Yeah?" Maddie whispered, "Who's in your room?" I heard the scream from the garage. I ran inside and nearly slipped on the kitchen tile. Laura had Maddie in her arms. Maddie was sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. I went upstairs with Evan behind me. Our bedroom was empty. The desk chair was pulled out. On the desk was Laura's old notebook. open to a blank page. In the center of that page, written in pencil, was one word: Maddie. The handwriting was not Laura's. It was small and careful, like a child trying very hard to write neatly. We left the house that night and stayed at a motel. I wish I could say that was the end. It wasn't. Because the next morning I went back alone. We needed clothes, medication, school things. Laura begged me not to go by myself, but I told her I'd be fast. The house looked harmless in daylight. That almost made me hate it more. I parked by the porch and left the front door open while I packed bags. I moved quickly. Clothes into trash bags, toothbrushes, chargers, Noah's stuffed dog, Maddie's school binder, Evan's laptop. As I was coming down the stairs with the last bag, I heard someone knock at the gate. Not the violent booming from nighttime. This was gentle. 3 soft knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I stood in the foyer holding the bag. Sunlight filled the house behind me. The open front door showed the driveway and the gate beyond it. I could see it clearly. No one was there. Then from upstairs in our bedroom, Laura's voice called softly, "Daniel?" I didn't move. She said it again. "Daniel, can you come here?" Her voice was perfect, not similar. Perfect. The shape of it, the tiredness, the small lift at the end when she wanted me to answer. But Laura was at the motel with the kids. My body wanted to answer. That's what scared me most. Some automatic husband part of me almost said, "Yeah?" Instead, I walked out the front door, left the bag on the porch, got in the car, and drove back to the motel with only half the things we needed. We never slept in that house again, but we still owned it for 9 more months. That was its own nightmare. I had to go back during the day with movers. I had to meet a realtor. I had to pay for repairs on a house none of us would enter alone. Every time I went there, I felt watched. Not from one place, from everywhere. The movers hated the upstairs hallway. One of them asked me if my other kid was staying with relatives. I said, "What other kid?" He said, "The little girl who was standing at the top of the stairs." There was no little girl. I stopped asking questions after that. We eventually sold the house at a loss to a man from out of state. I wanted to warn him, I really did. But what was I supposed to say? Sometimes the gate knocks by itself. Sometimes the hallway walks at night. Sometimes the house uses your wife's voice. So I said what Mr. Whitaker had said. Old houses make noise. And I hated myself for it. For a while after we moved, things got better. We rented a smaller place closer to town. The kids slept again. Laura stopped checking the locks so much. Evan went back to being sarcastic. Maddie stopped talking about the bedroom. Noah barely mentioned the old house at all. But I don't think it left us completely. About 6 months after we moved, I found Noah sitting on the floor by the front door of our rental house. It was late afternoon. He had his ear pressed against the wood. I asked him what he was doing. He said, "Listening." "For what?" He looked up at me and said, "The knocking." I tried to keep my voice calm. "There's no knocking here, buddy." He nodded. Then he said, "I know. It's still far away." I didn't tell Laura that for almost a year. The last thing I'll share happened 2 years after we left that house. By then, I had convinced myself that memory had made it worse, that maybe the fear had grown in our minds. Maybe the handprints had been from some neighborhood kid. Maybe the camera had glitched. Maybe the voice I heard had been stress. Then I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. It was an old picture of our former house, probably from the 1970s. Same porch, same maple tree, much smaller, same gate at the end of the driveway. On the back, someone had written, "Do you hear it too?" I turned the photo over again and looked closer. At first, I didn't notice anything strange. Then I saw the upstairs window, our bedroom window. Behind the glass, barely visible, was the shape of a person sitting at the desk. Back turned, head slightly lowered, like they were writing in a notebook. I threw the photo away that night. Then I took it out of the trash an hour later because some part of me needed proof. I still have it. Laura hates that I kept it. She says keeping it is like leaving a door open. Maybe she's right. I don't know who sent it. I don't know what that house is. I don't know why it knocked at the gate or why Mr. Whitaker told me not to let the kids answer it. But I know this. A few weeks ago, Laura and I were in bed at our current house. Different town, different state. No long driveway, no wooden gate. Around 2 a.m., I woke up. Not because of a loud noise, because Laura was sitting up beside me. She was staring at the bedroom door. I whispered, "What's wrong?" She didn't answer. Then I heard it. Not at the gate this time, at the front door. 3 soft knocks, tap, 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 and from the hallway outside our room, in Maddie's voice, something whispered, "Dad?" Maddie doesn't live with us anymore. She's in college, 300 miles away. I didn't answer, neither did Laura. We sat there until sunrise, holding hands like if one of us let go, the other might forget what was real. In the morning, there were no footprints on the porch, no marks on the door, nothing on the security camera. Just 6 hours of still, empty footage. But every night since then, before I go to bed, I check the locks. Then I check them again. And no matter how quiet the house gets, I never let myself be the first one to speak when someone knocks.
That was tonight's letter from Letters of Horror. Some stories are only stories, and some stay with you long after the room goes quiet. If you enjoyed this one, we have many more waiting for you on our Substack podcast. Every week, we upload 2 full 1-hour horror episodes filled with letters, true-sounding nightmares, and stories meant to be heard in the dark. This YouTube upload is only temporary, so it may disappear from here later. But our full collection will be available on Substack, so subscribe there and don't miss the next letter. You'll find the link in the description. This is Jim, your host from Letters of Horror. Until the next story, lock your doors. Turn down the lights and listen carefully, because sometimes the thing you hear in a story hears you too.